welcome back, everyone, to Retroactive. My name's Andrew. We have a massive Marvel day for you guys. Lots of Marvel news to go over. So, of course, Josh is very happy about that. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce him. Josh, how you doing, bud?
Doing great, man. I'm excited to talk about the masterpiece known as Madam Web.
Future Oscar nominee. I guarantee it.
Best Avengers Endgame. I hadn't even seen it, and I know it puts Avengers Endgame to
it's a shame. I can't. I don't know how to process from that. And of course, we have Brandon joining us again. How's it going, bud?
He also is excited about Madam Web.
I didn't see 50 Shades of Web yet, but yeah.
That is so good. I love that.
Awful. No, it's not.
And someone who's a fan of 50 Shades of Web, my wife. How you doing, babe?
I'm just enjoying all the banter going around right now with these horrible jokes. But yeah, no, it's great.
I heard 50 Shades of Web was in your top 3 movies of the year.
Considering the year just started, anything's possible. I think we've seen maybe not even 3 movies so far. So anything's possible. It could be there. It might be number 3, but it could be there.
It's going to Dune too, and as far as reviews go, I mean, people are loving it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, totally. That's what people are saying. So without further, you know what? Since we're on Madam Web, we're going to jump over to Madam Web because
you're the only one who's seen it. So
I know Ashlyn and I are the only ones in this panel that have seen it. We're joking about it. Let's go ahead and talk about it. I'm going to give Ashlyn a chance to talk about it first because she didn't love it, but she liked it more than I did. So Ashlyn, why don't you kick things off?
So the woman gets to kick it off. Yeah, sure. Okay.
About the woman movie, I think that's fair.
I know it is. It's just so funny. Oh God, I'm dying.
Well, you're also the only 2 who have seen the movie, and he's the host. So
that's right.
I know. I'm just teasing him.
I got to pass it to somebody.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I can say that hasn't already been said about it.
Sydney Sweeney.
So I went into this. I've never seen Euphoria, so I only know Sydney Sweeney by name. So, but I guess she's like big on Euphoria and stuff. I actually give Sydney Sweeney credit because she actually did the research for the role. She actually looked like there's certain like poses and things that she looked into that she's like, I guess Andrew was telling me like the upside down pose where she comes down. That's like something that her character does in the comics and things like that. So she actually did the legwork for this movie and actually cared about the character enough to want to make it good. I don't think any of this falls back on Sydney Sweeney, or I'm a big Dakota Johnson fan outside of 50 Shades. So I think she's a really good actress when she's given like room to go and like just run with her roles. So I don't blame honestly any of the actresses. They did a really good job with the material they had. Adam Scott was really funny as well. I think he did a good job of playing Ben Parker. The biggest problem with this movie outside of whoever was pulling the strings as far as the creative control. Yes, baby. Pulling the web.
Well, I'm also above you. So
is just whoever got, whether it's like Sony's directors or whoever is the one that is telling them, oh no, we're going to change this. Because I guess there was quite a few storyboard changes and things like that for the overall story that once you hear it, you're like, oh, this actually kind of makes more sense as to why there are these characters in this movie. Like, because you've got Ben Parker, you've got Emma Roberts playing Mary Parker, that you're just like, why the hell is Emma Roberts in this movie for like 5 minutes of the whole movie? Like, they could have just gotten anybody to play that role if they were really not going to utilize her that much. But I guess she had a bigger part in the beginning. But typical, like, falling on their face with Sony with the villain is just really bad. We've heard all about how bad the villain is and how like he just falls flat and everything like that. So for me, it's like you could see what they were trying to do and what they were trying to lay out. It just, with all the rewrites and whatever else went on, it just fell apart as far as a cohesive storyline.
Yeah. Now, what she's referring to is that there's talk, and I don't know the 100% like validity of some of these stories, but there was initial reports when they started talking about making Madam Web that it was going to be a story about her trying to save the as of now unborn Peter Parker, and like making sure that he comes, for lack of a better term, comes to term, because he has to set things in motion and become Spider-Man and stuff like that. And then everything changed, and it's still like it's a small part of it, but like he's not really a factor in this movie as far as what the villain is doing. He doesn't even know about Peter and stuff like that. He's strictly going after the future Spider Women, in as far as this story goes. And it's like, okay, that's fine, I guess, for what you were doing. You wanted to make it more about other characters, not make everything about Peter Parker and that version of Spider-Man as we've seen many times before. But it was so convoluted, and you get so little of the actual Spider Women in this movie. Like their characters are there, but it's the before they actually become the different Spider Girl, Spider Women, that sort of thing.
No, the fact that they're all named freaking Spider Woman, they're all from the same.
You're right.
Universe,
they're all Spider Woman. Yeah,
drove me nuts because we're trying to do research on each character, and we're like, oh, so this
and
is
apparently they
Spider-Woman,
all
but
exist in the same
also...
universe, which is even more confusing. It's not that they're
only in the suit for like 30 seconds in the movie.
Yeah, so each girl has maybe 2 minutes tops in the film, in their suits. Like a little bit at the beginning, a little bit at the end, and it's all showing you the future. It's all glimpses of the future where they're wearing the suits. Not once in the actual story of the movie that's playing out with Dakota Johnson's character do they actually suit up, which is probably one of the most frustrating parts of this whole thing. And I understand that this is a movie that's supposed to be about Madam Web, but you teased everyone thinking that they were going to get this team up thing that they don't really get.
I heard he was trying to kill them because they push him out a window.
Yeah,
yes.
That is like the whole premise of the movie.
Guy who has Spidey powers, who I've seen clips fall from high buildings, get hit by cars, is scared to die by being pushed out a window.
Yep,
pretty much. That is the whole
whole
complaint of everyone that has like seen this movie. Like John Campia, all the big movie reviewers are just like, we just saw him jump out 40 stories worth of a window and land on his like feet in superpower pose, and now you're telling me he fell out a window and he's gonna die? Like, it was just that. Again, it's always the villains with Sony that fall flat and fall apart.
That is the worst part of this movie. Like, even though some of the dialogue's not great and some of the acting and the choices and stuff like that aren't great, which I do say that sometimes that falls more on the writers and the director than necessarily the actors, because I do believe that some of these actors can act if they're given the right material and the right direction. But you can just kind of tell, like I know John Campia says, it's like you can tell that some of, like, after a certain point they just must not have cared, like the people involved. But to focus on the director side of it, here's the crazy part. So the directors behind this are the writers, director, whatever. No, not director. Director's a female. The writers behind this movie have written multiple flops.
Morbius.
They've directed Morbius. They've directed Dracula Untold, which is one of their higher percentaged Rotten Tomatoes movie at 25%. Another movie was, I think it was like Gods of Egypt or something like that. But I saw this article and it was like listing out. It's like 4 or 5 failures that these people have had. The highest one that they have, and this one really hurt me a little bit on the inside. This writing team actually wrote the 2017 Power Rangers movie, which is really freaking good, honestly. And it has like an over 50%, which for critics with a Power Ranger movie, I think is about as good as you can hope for, on Rotten Tomatoes, and like a 75 or 80%, something like that, audience score for that movie. And whereas their next step down is the Dracula Untold at 25% and like 30% or something like that when it comes to critic and audience score. So I don't know how and that one has a really good story. Anyone who hasn't seen that movie just because they're not Power Ranger fans, I highly recommend it, because it's basically like if you took the Breakfast Club story and mixed it in with like a Power Rangers-esque superhero film. It sounds a little weird, but trust me, it works.
As somebody
all
who
the
has watched The Breakfast Club many, many, many times and was one of my like critical movies growing up, that's a very apt description. It's
Right.
very well done.
And almost all those actors have gone on to have quite big careers in Hollywood one way or another. And so I don't know how you go from that to all the movies after, or all the other movies that they've done. And I don't know who thought, oh, Morbius did so well, let's bring them back to do Madam Web. Who the hell thought that was a good idea? But I don't know. Ashlyn knows sometimes the longer something sits with me, the more I begin to like pick it apart and dislike it, because I'm walking out of the movie and I know I messaged you guys immediately and just said the biggest thing about this is I was bored through this movie. That was like my biggest takeaway. Short version of it is I was bored. And I hate that, because at least if something is, and I told Ashlyn this, and I think I told you guys, is if something's dog shit, sometimes you'll still have fun with it, or it could be funny, or it could be so bad that it's funny. It was none of that. It wasn't even a fun popcorn flick. It was just, I just felt like it was dragging, and I didn't like it. Like Ashlyn said, the villain was the worst part of this whole thing, though. And this is something, if you guys ever do watch it, whether streaming or otherwise, just for shits and giggles, for the first like half of the movie, every time he spoke, it sounded like a bad dub. So you know how like I'd say majority of audio like that's spoken in a film has to be redubbed because they're filming in loud locations or whatever the case may be. They have to go back and redo it. That's normal, but it literally sounded like the dude had like like Japanese to English dub voice over him, because it was layered terribly. And she's like, "You're the only one that's going to notice that because like you're a musician."
The same thing. The words didn't match up with his lips, so
yeah. So it's like and it's not even. I wasn't even paying that close attention to see if it was like, and then he spoke type of thing. It wasn't that far off, but it was just more like he didn't fit within the space he was in. Everything was flat. Everything was just, ooh, okay. You know what? We're going to, I could, like most people, I could go off on a tangent. Josh, you go ahead.
Well, I gotta ask, would you rather watch Madam Web again, or which film was better, Madam Web or Slaughterhouse?
Oh my God.
I haven't seen Slaughterhouse, so I don't know.
I was actually going to ask on here, what do you feel like was worse, that or Morbius?
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I only saw Morbius once. I think I'd rather rewatch Morbius. I do. I think there was
Morbius.
Do what?
I think Morbius wasn't a good movie, but I don't think you have that same bored feeling.
No, and that's the thing. It at least had some fun action moments and like, I don't know, decent things. If you
how low
could say
do they
that.
have to sink then for Morbius to top something? I mean, that's just
and that's the thing. It technically
funny,
has
a serious question. Like, Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
It technically now has a higher critic score. Like it's only 1 or 2%, but it still technically beat Madam Web at this point. Yeah. But that's the thing. I knew I didn't really like Morbius when I saw it, but I also wasn't bored through the movie. And I would say that I think Morbius was better. I would. I would say that.
Craven?
Do what?
You think this is going to affect Craven?
Ooh, it's going to affect it one way or the other. Like I think there's still a good chance that it'll get released, but I don't know.
Like, I don't get released. I mean, as far as it being like people actually being willing to go watch it.
I think it's going to affect. It's going to affect the money it makes for sure. Absolutely.
In my opinion, from what I'm seeing with all this, I just looked it up. It's got like a 3.5 or something out of 10. It's like people know that Sony is a laughing stock now. They did with Morbius. It was kind of already a running joke. Just don't let them touch the fucking superhero movies. And then they come out and they are literally proving everybody's opinions about them correct by making just garbage like this. It's like it's not enticing anybody to go see it. So yeah, I feel like it's going to affect Craven.
So how much of Craven has actually been filmed at this point?
That's a great
it's
question.
done.
It's
done.
It's done.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
Oh,
done. It
boy.
was supposed. It's been delayed a couple of times, but it's essentially done. There might be some post production they're doing, but it's done filming.
It comes out this year.
Yeah.
3.
Why are they doing this?
The year that Marvel Studios is taking a break, Sony's going to put out all their trash, and Marvel.
Because I'm pretty sure it was supposed to come out either last year, like maybe towards the end of the year, or early at the beginning of this year, and they pushed it like an extra 6 or so months to come out later in 2024. But it's coming.
I honestly feel like I feel like Sony at this point is just doing it for the cash grab because they know that they have that clientele of Marvel fans who are gonna go see it. Like, some of us that are just like we're big fans of Marvel. We have to go see it. It's like almost a religious thing. And they know it's going to bring them money, so they're gonna go do it. And they don't care about the reviews, and they don't care about I honestly haven't seen a Sony project yet. With the exception of maybe Venom 1, just because Tom Hardy put that shit on his shoulders and ran with it as hard as he could. There's only so much he can do, but like everything I've seen from Sony, it's like I just feel like there's no passion, there's no care to put into it. You don't hear about a lot of these directors that do the Sony projects talking about the source material from the comics to try to make it, a kid's dream who was that they grew up loving this character in the comics and has always wanted to see it.
It seems like it's falling back more on the actors, like you said, like Tom Hardy, Sydney Sweeney doing her research. And I know Dakota Johnson does a lot of research for her characters, but what they gave her is nothing like what is written in the comic for her character.
Yeah.
Well, and there's only so much she could research about this character. It is not a super prominent, constantly used character.
No, not at all.
For this, I feel like what they did, especially when it releases a month before International Women's Month and International Women's Day and everything like that. So they sat there and they were like, okay, we're going to check some boxes. We're going to do a big girl team up, whether they were going from the idea of when all the women teamed up in Endgame or whatever. And they're like, okay, so we're going to do this, but we're going to do this with littler known characters, these more obscure Spider Women, because everyone's riding on the Spider high from Into the Spider-Verse. So we've seen all these different Spider people. So they're like, okay, we're going to grab all these different Spider Women that apparently in the comics do team up under Madam Web. We're going to take this kind of obscure woman character from the animated TV show is where she had like her biggest draw for her character, and we're going to do this girl team up movie. Okay, and now we're going to check boxes of we'll get some ethnically diverse younger women to try and pull the women into comics. And every time they do this shit where they try to either do a female driven story, kind of like what happened. The Marvels is definitely not like anywhere in the same universe as this, but it just seems like anytime they try to pull women into the mainstream comic realm, they just toss it away and they phone it in. You're not getting Greta Gerwig and Barbie level type writing with this shit. They just get these toss away writers, these like 6 or 7 failed freaking projects that are all flops. And they're like, yep. And only thing I heard of how they even got Sydney Sweeney and how they got Dakota Johnson was because they were going around telling them they were going to possibly be in the MCU. And I saw an article today where they pulled a clip of Sydney Sweeney because she's the only one still promoting this thing at this point. The day that the trailer dropped, Dakota Johnson fired her management agency the day the trailer dropped.
Mm-hmm.
They also said, I saw one that she hasn't seen the film and she doesn't know when she'll see the film. She herself, the starring role, hasn't watched the damn movie. That tells you something right there.
And like she's not doing outside of whatever she's contractually obligated to. She is not doing any promos.
I don't think she ever actually cared about the movie either. Every interview I've seen so far that's just popped up on TikTok, it's like woman doesn't even seem like she wants to be there. Like there was one I saw where this dude brought in a first issue of Madam Web.
Yeah, Daniel Davis.
Yeah, and he's like, dude, he's so hyped about it, and she's just like, oh,
Yeah, that's
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never seen this. It's like, woman, try to care. Like, I just I
Pretend.
don't know.
You know?
Pretend,
I
yeah, you're
don't
an
know
actor.
if it's
Act.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if it's because of the fact that now she's trying to distance herself because her agency was the one that kind of shoved her into this role, from what I've heard. So now she was like, whatever she signed on to when she signed on to it was obviously not what
Well-
they got by the end of it. So I don't know if she's just like, I just want to forget about this role. I don't want to be tied to this role because now I'm scared it's going to screw up my whole career because she's got so many other things going. So I think that might be part of the reason why she's checking out for all these interviews because, like I said, she's just like, I am done.
She's going to be
with this.
happier to return to 50 Shades of Grey after this than
Yeah.
talk about Madam
That
Web.
is-
She'll be
that
like,
is-
please
that
please
is-
remember me from that, you know?
That at
When the
least
movie was
stuck by the
pitched, it was
source
supposed to be
material,
like
for
a
God's sakes. Like
Terminator.
laugh about
You're
it
not
all
wrong.
you want with 50 Shades, and I do. I mean, I think it's it was a good joke back in high school that, but it stuck by the source material, and I'll give credit where it's due. It's like that put her on the map for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's like man, it's just I don't like seeing this happen over and over with Sony. I really wish they could get their shit together, but it doesn't.
Well, and I was just going to say about what you mentioned earlier about the whole like, oh, we'll bring the Marvel fans, but this time might have turned the tables, man. There was so many people coming out of the theaters being like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They said that even the day the movie came out, whether it be because of critic scores, regular people reports, whatever, that refunds were going through the freaking roof for tickets for this movie. So
I didn't hear any of that. That's crazy. Damn.
I don't know.
Yeah, like in live time, Andrew said that the article was saying they were just the refunds were coming in, and it's just dropping and dropping and dropping.
Oh boy!
But I think we've talked enough about this. I think everyone has talked ad nauseum about.
Go see this movie.
Madam Web thing.
Yeah, classic. Go see this movie.
Support movies and actors and whatnot. Let's talk about something we're actually excited about and happy that's coming, and that would be
Slaughterhouse 2. Oh.
Deadpool and Wolverine. I had to use this image because it's just I love it. I love that so much. Ryan Reynolds shared that on Valentine's Day, and it's just the best. This trailer was great. I do love that they're not spoiling too much right out the gate with the first trailer. I know some people were just like, the people like us that are kind of like ingrained into this whole, type of whether it be the Marvel stuff, superhero movies, or just movies in general. And we, live on the internet. So we knew this stuff was coming. Everyone's like, they didn't show Wolverine. They just like showed the back of his head. It's like, yeah, but for the normies out there that don't necessarily know that this is happening or to what extent, they teased it as a trailer is supposed to.
It was a teaser trailer.
It's a teaser trailer. They're building hype so that the normies out there that don't know, they go, holy, wait, is that who I think it is? And, that's the whole point of a trailer, not to show us everything right out the gate. Because trust me, we're going to end up with a good two or three more trailers by the time we get to the movie release.
Can't wait.
And I'm just going to be like, by the time we get to trailer 3, I'll be like, whoa. Please don't show me anymore. I just want to enjoy the ride in the movie theaters. But I'm going to jump into our resident Marvel guy here. Josh, what did you think of the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer?
Bro, this trailer made my heart so happy, especially when, well, let's start. It's cool that they picked up right after the second one. They're showing you how he kind of changed the whole universe and everything. Everybody's kind of Vanessa's back and whatnot. But and it was hilarious that he had the freaking wig stapled to his head.
Oh my God.
But then when the TVA showed up, as someone who is a massive fan of the Loki show, seen the TVA show, and finally things kind of finally seemed like it's kind of interacting finally. Makes sense because Phase 4, nothing has interacted at all. You would think that TVA would be more of a big factor, but we're finally seeing them actually have an impact on the movies. And I love that they start right out the gate. They let us know that this is still, it's under Disney, a Deadpool movie with a Peggy joke versus Disney. I was like, thank you. Everybody was so worried that they were going to water down Deadpool. It wasn't going to be the same. I'm glad they are allowing Ryan Reynolds to stick with his roots with his character. And I'm honestly, from what I'm hearing, I know you don't like to get into the spoilers and all that kind of stuff and all the behind the scenes stuff.
I do.
But I don't care if I'm spoiled. Reading something online versus watching it in the theater is two different experiences for me. Even if I know what's going to happen, and it might be weird, but there's the only thing I'm stressing is I remember with No Way Home, I was up for hours trying to get a damn ticket, and I know that's gonna be the same case for this movie. So that's the only thing that has me stressed. But I am like super hyped for this movie. I can't wait. When's it come out? It comes out in May.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. This show just looks great. And then they teased the patches. I don't know if you know the Wolverine's the comic one where he runs the bar, the Princess Bar in Madripoor, and he wears like the white suit and the eye patch. I'm not gonna tell you who the rumor is, but that's supposedly possibly not Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. It's gonna be a different one. I'm not gonna ruin who it might be, but there's a lot to unpack in this trailer, and I'm very, very hyped for this film.
Nice. Brandon, how about you?
Just like Josh, I'm a big I'm big into I love Marvel, but Deadpool is my favorite Marvel character. I can't think of one that tops it. It's always kind of been that way. So I was, when I saw that trailer, the first thing I thought of, and it was really weird because normally I'm not this type of person, but I just like, it just kind of shows my age. I was like, man, I remember back when, how many years ago when they were teasing the fact that there was going to be a Deadpool 1 and that there was the test footage that was leaked for, years before, and then they scrapped it, then they brought it back, and now here we are with the third movie, and it's like every single one has been fantastic. Both Deadpool 1 and 2 are fucking beautiful movies, like different than anything Marvel does. So hilarious, like I love it.
Beautiful. Somebody goes through a wood chipper, but it's
absolutely, man. That is my jam. I love it. So
there's a lot worse things than that happen.
Oh yeah, way worse.
For sure.
Way
for
worse.
sure.
Baby legs, bro. Baby legs. Like that's all I gotta say. Just baby legs.
Oh my god, the baby legs.
That's all I gotta say. So I will say I'm so stoked to see this third adaptation. There was a time period there where I didn't know that they were going to do, if they were going to even bring him back, and in what capacity were they going to do it if they did it. And I was really expecting Disney to bomb. From the looks of the trailer, it doesn't look like they're losing any bit of steam from the last two movies, and I'm really excited about that. I do have concerns about it. I hope, just because it is Disney, I hope that they don't scale it back in any way, shape, or form from the raunchiness. It needs to be raunchy. It's a Deadpool movie. Overall, I really just want it to all make sense with the MCU. I don't want them to try to force anything, and I feel like this is a perfect movie where they could be very prone to doing that and really screwing up and making people go, huh? Why'd they do that? Like, it's, I think introducing the TVA, perfect. Absolutely perfect. We're off to a great start with that. And introducing him to the MCU. I mean, literally, he's breaking the fourth wall by doing so, but he is literally being introduced to the MCU again. Perfect. I think that's awesome. I was hoping that I really was hoping there was going to be a shot of him looking at like Marvel on the timeline, and that's exactly what we got. And he's sitting there saluting Captain America. I was just laughing. I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly what it needs to be. So, I just want to see it done justice. I want to see it done correctly, and I will say I'm a little concerned about Wolverine being thrown into this with no explanation on why he has the blue and yellow suit. And it's like, is this a different alternate Wolverine? Obviously, we know Hugh Jackman will be in it, but I hope they don't just throw a crap load of Wolverines and a crap load of Deadpools in there from a bunch of universes. And I know where you're going. I know where you're going with this. You said no spoiler territory, so I'm not gonna hit it. But
well, you're gonna be disappointed there, pal.
I know, but I want what I'm getting at is I want it all to make sense. I just don't want to see like us get attached to this certain character that we never see again. I don't think you have
to worry about that. Not to cut you off, but this movie is going to be a direct tie-in, like to kind of start setting up Secret Wars.
Yeah.
There's also a reason why the ending shot of the trailer, you can see Deadpool laying next to a Secret Wars comic book. Like,
I know, yeah.
This is like a direct connection where they're finally going to start. So I don't think it's going to be like it's not really a movie they can mess up on because it's setting up the next Avengers movie.
What
so
not
I
only that,
ultimately want to see from this movie, though, is Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. I want to see it in some fashion or form, and I feel like they could build to that. And, and that could open a door one way or another to Secret Wars through multiverses or whatever. But if he just wants to fucking kill off this universe, let him do it. I think that would be beautiful.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is I think as far as what you're saying, you're worried about things not necessarily making sense. I think that's kind of the point is it's essentially Deadpool kills the Fox Marvel universe, more or less. And it might even bridge off a little bit past that. But he's basically like, it seems like from the trailer, teaming up with the TVA or whatever to reset, like to get rid of all these subsequent timelines of Marvel characters and stuff like that, and kind of like, make them non-existent anymore in whatever fashion that may be. That's essentially, it seems like what we're getting here, and I'm totally down with that. I think that's a great way to do it.
Did you also see in the trailer too? And in the trailer, you'll see in the background the 21st Century Fox logo.
Yeah, he's laying next to it.
Yeah, it's so great.
If you notice when he goes and he sees all the TV screens there's Age of Ultron and Thor Ragnarok.
Yep.
They show you that he pops up in those movies. Like the part where he's in the snow in the forest, that's
it looks like that scene from Ultron.
That's Age of Ultron. And then that when he wakes up in that bed that has the teeth on it, that's Hulk's bed in Thor Ragnarok. So he's traveling not only to Fox movies, they're essentially doing Avengers Endgame, but with Deadpool.
Yeah.
But he's going to all Marvel movies, not just our cinematic universe.
Ashlyn, what were you saying?
I was just going to say they kind of teased it in the end credits of the second movie when he goes back and kills Wade from the Wolverine and stuff like that. We all kind of figured that he was going to be doing, Deadpool kills the Marvel universe within the Fox universe. That kind of seemed like it was teased in the second movie. So seeing the 20th Century Fox sign in the background was freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of the helicarrier that we saw in
the first one?
In the first one?
The Thanos copter.
The Thanos copter.
The Thanos copter.
From
Loki. Yeah, because I think are they or are they not in the same area as Loki?
Yeah, they're in the void. There's that scene where the TVA agent gets picked up. That's Eliath from Loki season 1.
I need to see Deadpool pilot the Thanos copter. That would make my heart happy.
Yeah, it's definitely this seems like a lot of fun. I'm really excited to just for whatever it is they have in store for us. And that's one of the reasons why, like Josh mentioned, like I don't really try and get too much of that. There's been plenty of like the photo leaks and shots and story points that have been I know leaks. There's some leaks
Ryan
and then
Reynolds
there's
is doing that because it's free promotion. They don't have to post any trailers. They don't have to
real
money. They just have to post some photos and it has everybody talking.
Yeah, and so that and then what's beyond that, like I just personally I'm one of those people that just likes to experience it in the moment as the way it's meant to be seen on the big screen. Graphics and all type of thing, as opposed to some of these like, shots you get. I'm not talking specifically Deadpool, but just movies in general where they'll be like, oh, we saw so-and-so filming this scene and their suit looks terrible. It's like, well, because probably 50% of it is CGI, you dumbass. Like, it's like that's how movies work, especially superhero movies. But anyway, so we're all very much excited for this one. Let's carry things on, keep going with the Marvel news. We've got X-Men 97 that was dropped, the trailer essentially within the same week. It was a big Marvel week. I myself, Ashlyn and I are revisiting the original X-Men animated series on Disney Plus. We're enjoying that. It's very cool, very old school retro cartoon type stuff. Her favorite is Rogue and Gambit, and their characters are great. I love that we're getting some of these voice actors back from the original series, and most of them, even if they're not playing the same characters, are coming back and playing other characters. So the original voice actor of Gambit is now going to play Cable, and some of the other ones. So some of these, like, they needed to do because of either like representation type things, because they had like a Canadian actor playing an Asian actor and an Asian character, so like that's not gonna fly, and things like that. And then other ones, it was like Maybe the person can't necessarily do the voice they used to do because it's been 30 years, basically since they did this series, like just about 30 years. And so, even when you're talking about you getting older, even when you're already an adult, your voice is going to change again. So
Yeah.
they wanted to work with these people as best they could and make sure that they could bring them back into the fold, but do what was best for the show and what was best for the stories and everything like that. And just from the trailer alone, I'm really excited about this. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks like a great continuation of what came before. I wanted to show off one quick pick that I saved here from the trailer. It's probably my favorite. Yes, thank you, Josh. That shot alone got me so freaking hyped. So if anyone's not familiar with Gambit as a character, he can charge objects and they will essentially like either explode or like disperse their energy in certain ways and stuff like that. So he used that to charge up Wolverine's blades as they're running through that field or whatever. So that shot was just amazing. That's one of those like I'd love to see that in a live action version someday, like type of thing. But I'm gonna jump it over to Ashlyn since she's also, like I said, been watching this stuff with me, and we actually got to meet some of the voice cast of X-Men '97 and the original cast back at MegaCon. Ashlyn, what do you think of this trailer? What are your thoughts on this, and the X-Men in general?
I think it looks great. I know there was the hardcore sweaties were freaking out a little bit because they're toning down Rogue. Like, she's not as curvy. Da, da, da.
I've been seeing so much stuff about Rogue's ass. That's all people are talking about.
Let me just say, this isn't a Lola Bunny situation like with
Correct.
Space Jam 2, where they just completely, like, if you want to say, like, degenderized her or whatever, or desexualized her, which that case maybe would have been good. Maybe it was a good idea for the kids. But anyway, moving past that, if you watch the original series, yes, she has some moments where she's a little bit curvy, but for the most part, she looks about the same. There's just certain shots, the way that, like, if a body's laying, that is going to look extra curvy, like the shot that everyone uses of her standing in front of Apocalypse, or laying down in front of Apocalypse. That's the shot that everyone always talks about and everyone uses the memes for and stuff like that. That's she's laying down. Of course, she's going to look curvy. But I apologize, Ashlyn. You were saying.
No, it's funny because we had to talk about it because everybody else is talking about Rogue and her curvaceousness. But no, I'm really excited at the little bit that we've started watching. I think we're into season 2 now, and then we also went back and watched X1, X2, and some of the
we're doing like action. A whole. There it is. There's the shot. Yeah.
There you go, gentlemen. You're welcome.
That is the curviest shot of her in the entire series, and it's in the first season. That's the funny part. But yeah, we've been doing like a whole rewatch of the original X-Men live action movies because partly to do with this, and also kind of partly to do with the whole Deadpool Wolverine situation. Kind of like we did the same thing when No Way Home was coming out. We ended up watching all of the Spider-Man movies that came before, just in case, type of thing. So,
but it was cool to kind of go back and watch them. We both said, these actually hold up better than we thought they would, and it gives better context to some of the storylines and things that they do play through in the animated series. So if somebody has a lot of free time and couch time, I recommend going back and watching them. That was really good to kind of see that through the live action lens versus going through the animated series, and it kind of added things up. I had never seen the Wolverine before, so we did, of course, Wolverine Origins and the Wolverine and stuff like that. And so I know some of that eventually ties around and stuff like that, but it's just really cool to go back and look at the whole universe as a whole, the different iterations they do. Of course, I really enjoyed Gambit when he showed up in X-Men Wolverine Origins, and that was really cool. And that's the only time that we ever got to see him in live action.
How do you feel about Channing Tatum playing Gambit? He never got to do it, but he was cast as Gambit.
Yeah,
I wanted to do it so bad. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Channing Tatum as like a whole, like he was that guy that got picked for so long, for like 10 years. He was the, big hottie or whatever you want to call him for just like Hollywood. And then
the go-to hot guy, basically.
Yeah, basically. And he was like the it guy. And then his marriage kind of fell apart. And I haven't really seen him do much. I know he did some sort of army guy movie with the dog, where the movie I think is literally called Dog.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. Like I don't think
Magic
he's a bad
Mike,
actor.
The Last Dance. What about The Last Dance?
Oh my God.
Did y'all ever watch This Is the End?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
she knows
my
about
God.
she
I
knows
know
about that
about
scene.
it. I know about it. Oh my God, the trauma, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So like, I just don't know.
When I saw that scene and he took his mask off, what's up, guys? And it was fucking Channing Tatum getting raped by the devil dude, like the cannibal guy. I was like, what is going on?
So Andrew talked about that back when that movie came out, that when you're like targeted as like the sexy guy of Hollywood, because he's not the only one that has done that type of scene, is like they just start fucking with women to try and ruin their image of them. So by doing these crazy cameos and stuff like that, because Channing's not the only one that's done it, and that's not the only like bizarre, weird off role.
Ryan Reynolds has done it a couple times.
Yeah, exactly.
You expect that.
But it is Ryan Reynolds. I know. I'm just saying, like, that's just one example. But but yeah, basically what she was saying is that sometimes they do that just to screw with people in the way that people imagine them and keep them in their head type of thing.
Just
but
messing with women, and it's fantastic. It was quite.
But
funny.
I think you've said before you didn't really see him as Gambit.
I really didn't, and I really don't. I think there's definitely a better person for it. I actually really enjoyed Taylor Kick when he did it. Obviously, he's not gonna, unfortunately, probably ever get asked to come back to do the role, but I think he played the role really well. I never saw him from, I think he got his start on Friday Night Lights. I knew him from, oh gosh.
He did Battleship.
No,
John Carter.
John Carter. Thank you. Sorry, my brain went
I think
completely
Origins
dead.
was before that, but still.
Yeah. So I knew him from that role, and there's a couple other things that he's done that I've seen, but I never actually saw him on what made him famous, because Friday night football movie TV shows are just not my deal. But I don't know how you make us, like, what was it, 5 seasons about high school football in Texas, but like, okay, whatever.
But growing up in a place like Lakeland or Polk County in general, I am not surprised that show lasted long.
But I think he has good acting chops, so I'm hopeful he gets to do something maybe again in the Marvel universe, doing something different, because he did really, really well with Gambit. I think he did really, really well with John Carter. So hopefully, maybe he'll come back as something. But
maybe
I think
he'll come in Deadpool 3. Who knows?
Maybe. I'm really hoping. I'm really hoping he shows up. I want
that would
everybody
be awesome.
showing up.
Yeah.
But Brandon, what are your thoughts on the X-Men 97?
To be honest with you, I've never really given the old animated series a try. I'm not, I was never, always knew it existed, and I never watched it. Oh, I can
was
give
before you were born, for one thing,
Well, yeah, but I mean, reruns existed. I mean,
of course.
But it's always something I've seen from kind of a distance and never delved into. It's probably something I should, but it's, when they announced it, I'll say this: when that leak happened a while ago, when we first heard that this was going to happen, and then when they announced it, I was just like, I thought it was really cool that they were revisiting.
Yeah.
I don't know of another animated series where they've done that and really tried to bring it back full force how it was. From what I saw from the trailer, it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong here, that they're picking it up exactly where they left off.
They are.
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Which I think is phenomenal. I hope they do it justice for the fans who like it. But yeah, I'd love to. It may be something I delve into on another day. But yeah, I'm hyped for the fans.
Yeah, I definitely would say, like, you just kind of have to look at it through the lens of this series was made 30 years ago. It's a cartoon from 30 years ago.
Yep.
Like, some of it holds up, some of it might not, and then some of it might not be your back. But what's really cool, one of the things that I really appreciated watching so far, is you would be shocked the amount of storylines that they took to use in the live action one within just the first season of the movie. and stuff like that. Like the first 3 live action X-Men movies, there are episodes that kind of like they're very. I mean, when I say they're based, they're loosely based. They went way up and above and beyond with the live action version, but they took from that, which again I'm sure comes from the comics as well. But just the first season alone has basically the entire trilogy of X-Men movie premises right from the get, and even Apocalypse and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to see that from that far back. Josh, how about? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, babe.
I was gonna say to what Brandon was saying with like picking up where it leaves off. Even the art style, like they tried to match the art style as close as you can, but just making it cleaner, more modern for this time, but keeping with that original animation style. So it looks really, really good. They kept as close as they possibly could, and basically like what he says, when you go back, if you ever give the series a try and actually find time to carve out of our adult lives to go and watch it, it's definitely, he's like, it kind of reminds me of Spider-Man from that time, but Spider-Man just did a better job with the animation for that era. But Spider-Man animated series came out like 3 or 4 years later, I think.
Something like that.
But it's still really good though. Like it's just definitely looks like you're watching a comic.
Well, one of the things that Ash and I talked about is that what's crazy is this series came out the same year as Batman the Animated Series. Same year, 92.
That's cool.
And they're so opposite in their
so
art
different
style.
With those, like between like the way they're telling the story, the way the art looks and stuff like that. But you can tell that this is where Marvel got its start as far as with the animated stuff, and they kind of took it from there, whether it be the Spider-Man series that came later. They had like a Silver Surfer series. And,
I was going to say, if you've never seen that, man, that's not bad.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. Now, Josh, did you grow up watching this series at all, or have you revisited it?
I was born in '95, so I think it was kind of I didn't start watching it so probably the early 2000s when I was like 5, 6. So I rewatched it all as a kid. I was big on the Spider-Man show, X-Men. I had all the action figures. Like that was my thing when I was a kid. Until I discovered Pokemon, and that kind of took over my life from that point on. But I am very excited to watch it. It does make me want to rewatch it because I honestly haven't watched the original since I was a kid. And I obviously when you're a kid, you view things differently. So I'm actually interested to go back and watch it before this comes out. And the only thing you really need to know about the show is that's it.
Jesus Christ.
So, this image alone makes you want to watch the show. So
Here's the crazy part about you bringing up that, and Ashton and I have had this conversation watching the series. Rogue is so like powerful in the animated series.
She fucks
like
up
as opposed, she is up there as one of the most powerful people in the Marvel universe, or like even if you want to say that the
most powerful mutants.
Do what?
I think it's one of the most powerful mutants.
Yeah. For sure. Like I was kind of reaching with the Marvel thing, but you understand what I'm saying. Like she has so much more power than they ever exemplified in the live action version and stuff like that. It's a completely different character. And now I understand after going back and rewatching this why I remember hearing this when I was young and I didn't understand it, why people were so upset about Rogue's character in the live action version and like what they did with that character versus what was in whether the comics or the animated series. Because people love that character, and even to this day, not just because of the ass, but it helps.
But it helps.
but yeah, she's super powerful, and that was one of the coolest things for me was getting to see that version of Rogue versus what I'd come to know from the live action. So, like I said, a lot of Marvel stuff today. Today and the last couple weeks, we're going to jump it over to. We had the Fantastic Four casting finally confirmed. It took a while, but we finally got there, and I know most of us are pretty excited with what they went with. Again, I'm going to start things off with our resident MCU guy, Josh. We've talked a little bit about this before with the rumor mill and everything like that, but now that it's confirmed, what are your thoughts on the casting?
This particular cast has been rumored for quite a while now, so I honestly wasn't too shocked. I've been hearing about Pedro Pascal for at least I want to say about 2 months now or something. He's been in the talks for it. I don't hate it. I don't. As far as Reed Richards goes, the other ones I think is pretty spot on. I think Vanessa Kirby, just Quinn. I botched the other guy's name. I know he's in The Bear. He's a great actor. Pedro Pascal wouldn't be my first choice. I was really on the John Krasinski train to keep him around. It was just for like 5 minutes. I think he did a great job in Multiverse of Madness, and I don't think he was given the people kind of judge him. He wasn't a good read based off like he had 5 minutes scene and he got killed
before he got blown up.
Yeah,
I don't think you can really judge him off that.
Watching that scene, when you watch him, you can be like, yeah, he is the smartest man in the room, and that's what I really liked. I'm not saying that Pedro can't do it because Pedro's a phenomenal actor, so I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I'm ready to see what he can bring to it, and I think he will do a good job, and I think he will surprise a lot of us. I think a lot of the issues people have is like if you bring back up the promotional art, that just looks like Pedro Pascal. Like they didn't really,
yeah,
in a Mr. Fantastic suit. So I know this is just an promotional image to say that hey, this film's gonna be in the '60s. Obviously, he's gonna look a little different on screen, but I think that they need to really do a better job making him look like Reed, or all people are gonna see is Pedro Pascal on the screen when they're trying to watch, and it might take them out of it. But
and there's something to be said about with when you're talking stars and stuff like that taking up certain roles that all you see is the actor. Like it's kind of like if Tom Cruise is in something, I'm just like it's Tom Cruise doing this. It's not his character doing that. You know what I mean? Like there's just certain people like that, and I worry that he's getting to that point because he's starting to show up in a lot of stuff that he's maybe going down that path. And I hope that's not the case. Like you said, I do think he can do a really good job, and I am excited to see his version of Reed Richards. But I totally get where you're coming from with that.
I don't think I'm not hating on either. I don't think he's going to do a bad job. He's probably going to kill the role. It's just not my first choice. And honestly, I never even would have thought of him as being Reed Richards. But
me and you both.
It was a little out of left field. I will say that
he did a phenomenal job as Joel. He does good in The Mandalorian. He is a very compelling actor, and he knows how to bring you in. So I think he's going to do a good job. As far as the other people go, Vanessa Kirby, I think is on point. I think not a lot of people, like she's in some bigger movies, but she's not a household name. And I think they did that with the other. I think they did a good job having just one major star and then the other ones just being kind of lower on the tier of actors and then this will bring them, this will make them household names.
Yeah, and all the rumors we've seen over the last year with the castings that were rumored, it seemed like they were going real heavy with star power for at least 2 out of the 4, maybe even 3 out of the 4, sometimes depending on.
They needed some star power because of the state the MCU's in. They needed some draw.
Yeah.
Which is why I think, which we're going to talk about next in a little bit, the whole Henry Cavill thing. I think now they're really focusing. They need to bring these actors in to kind of bring the people back into the MCU, which that will help, but really they just need to focus on better writing. Like no matter,
and it's about finding the right person for the role. You know what I mean? Like because that's why we've had some completely basically unknown actors come in and freaking kill it, or you've had you have the Robert Downey Jr.'s and the Chris Evans and things like that with the star power. But obviously the MCU rose their star to what it is now. But I'm just saying people knew those actors when they took the role. Hello, Ashlyn.
Maybe not RDJ, but I feel like Pedro Pascal is bigger now than actors like, let's say, Chris Evans was when he took on Captain America. Obviously, Chris Evans was bigger, but I don't think at that point in his career he was as big as Pedro is right now.
No, for sure.
It was easier to kind of, and even Robert Downey Jr., because at that time nobody was hiring him. So it was easy. And plus, it was 2008. I was young as hell. So
yeah. But Ashlyn, what did you think of the Fantastic Four casting?
I mean, all the other ones are fine. Like for everyone that's been cast, I really enjoyed Joseph Quinn in Stranger Things. I didn't really know him from anything else before that, so I'm super excited to see what he does. I think he'll be great. As far as Pedro Pascal, I think the biggest problem that we're all kind of having is because Pedro is like his own personality. We've always seen him play like kooky, quirky characters, and Reed Richards is such like a straight line.
Well, you haven't seen The Last of Us, to be fair.
The Last of Us, it was very dull and very
serious. Gotcha. Yeah, so I haven't seen that. But everything else I've seen him in is in a very eccentric character. And even the pose that they have him in is very much Pedro's like eccentric type character. Now that if it's set in the 60s, I don't know if they're at like a groovy whatever the hell they're doing party. But
I mean, I get what you're saying
party.
because even the whole like with the Mandalorian, it's mostly just his voice, and obviously, so like a lot of the physical stuff with that character is not even him. So that rolls a whole other bag.
You know it's Pedro when he's in the suit when he has that certain stance. You know when it's Pedro in the suit.
Oh, and I'm not saying that he can't be serious. Obviously, he can. Yeah. I'm saying like I understand where she's coming from in the roles that we've seen him do outside of the Mandalorian,
outside of
stuff
Mandalorian,
like that, and just him as a person in general. But he's a good actor, so he can, if he wants to do something, I believe he can do it.
I forget.
Yeah, for sure.
He was the villain. I always forget that. Yeah, Wonder Woman 84.
What was it?
Wonder Woman 84. I forget he was the villain.
Oh yeah. That one was one of those. I didn't really like the movie, but I kind of like.
Who's the villain in that movie again? I'm dead serious. Like I totally forgot.
It was basically like I forget the character's name, but it was basically like he was playing an '80s version of Trump. That.
Oh yeah, right.
Maxwell Lord, I think was his name.
Yeah.
Something like that. But he had like the
I can visualize
hair and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So and I thought for what that role was and for what that movie was, I thought he did a good job. The movie itself just wasn't the best. But
no, I always think of him with like his quirky characters as like from the Massive Weight of Talent movie that he did and some of the other stuff. He's just he's not being Mando, he's just always super quirky. So I'm interested to see him play it a little bit more straight now. So, but I think he will bring some of the quirkiness. Like I want him to have some of the quirkiness.
That's part of the Fantastic Four. Like the charm is that they're kind of like half serious, half goofy.
Yeah.
In the comics and just even in the adaptations, you say what you want about the Fox movies. I mean, I think that they nailed the character dynamics of the actual characters perfectly. And the story wasn't that great on either movie, but
they did Dr. Doom dirty.
They did do Dr. Doom dirty. Yeah, absolutely.
The actor did a great job. He did a good job.
I think the whole cast of those original movies did as well as they could. Ben, what is his name? Chicken, something like that. I don't know. it really is. No. Look it up. It's something close to that. It's like Chickle.
Michael Chiklis is what you're saying?
Chiklis, something like that. I don't know.
The Thing.
Yeah, The Thing.
Yeah. Michael Chiklis.
I thought he did a really good job as The Thing as well. And just the dynamics of how they present themselves on screen was really good. And I'm really hoping that with this cast, we're going to see similar dynamics. I think Quinn as Johnny is a very good casting choice because if you remember in Stranger Things, he's very boisterous and and I could see him playing a pretty cocky but lovable character like Johnny in Fantastic Four. I want to see. I'm cautious on the Pedro casting, and as for the other two, I couldn't tell you a thing that they've been in. But I will tell you, like for Pedro, he's been in these. He's no stranger to being the lead, at least the team leader, so to speak. You see it in Star Wars, you see it in The Last of Us. So for that side of things, I think that's a good casting call for them because he's used to bearing that, like an
ensemble cast type of thing.
Yeah, that weight, so to speak, of being a team lead on screen. So he has the reputation to do that. Whether or not they can execute that to his benefit is where I don't know if they're going to do it very well for fan service. And I'm really, man, I've been hyped about this movie since what was it, that D23 thing where you just saw the logo and someone snuck a little fucking video of it. It was like it got me so hyped because I love Fantastic Four, and it's just never had justice. We've seen justice with so many other characters in the MCU, whereas other adaptations from Fox or whoever has fallen flat. And well, we'll never see a good one of that now, but but I just really hope that this is the start of something good for the Fantastic Four, and not just another version of them that's going to fall flat. And Disney will just be like, well, we tried, I want to see this carry out throughout and maybe bring in Galactus, bring in Silver Surfer, for God's sake, bring in Silver Surfer.
Yeah, they're talking. There's reports saying that they are going to be whether introduced or something in the Fantastic Four.
They're casting Silver Surfer now. They're looking for an actor, and it's
good.
not. So originally, people were freaking out because they were going to do Nova instead of Norman Rad. Pretty much, Nova is basically a female.
I know, but like
now they're finally going back to Norman Rad, and I'm excited.
Good, because I mean, and you kind of hit on it a little bit ago, talking about like that Disney show that they did. That is a fantastic source for looking at all things Silver Surfer. It's very dated, so if you do go look into it, just understand that it's dated. But the story of Silver Surfer is very well done in that show, and it's very comic driven. And it really hones in. There's cheesy and at times there's like, to me, my board, but it's like, it shows and encompasses Silver Surfer as the comics display him. And I really hope we get to see something on that line for Surfer and Galactus in the future, and actually make Galactus menacing as opposed to just a fucking fart cloud or whatever they did before. It was awful. They shouldn't have done it.
From what I'm hearing, Kevin's putting a lot of love and focus in this one. Like, he knows he cannot mess this up.
Yeah.
That's why they're going to go in and they're doing Galactus. They're doing Silver Surfer, and they're already going to set up Doom. He's not going to be in the movie, but he's going to be in a post-credit scene.
So he's not going to be in this. I thought this entire time he was going to be in it.
No, so the villain is going to be, from what I'm reading, is going to be Galactus. And that's why they're doing the whole Silver Surfer thing. And they're going to set up Dr. Doom, and he's going to be in the post-credit scene.
I kind of don't know how I feel about that. Because just because Galactus to me is a Thanos level threat, and if they just cut him off like in one movie's time, that I don't know if that'll do it.
I think he's going to be
they cannot, man. That is one of the biggest villains of Marvel in general is Galactus.
I think the reason why they might be going this approach as far as the Doctor Doom side of things is because they also don't want to do that to Doom. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know.
Not that he couldn't survive the end of the movie, but that they want to set him up as a much bigger threat overall. But I'm with you on the Galactus thing. I understand where you're coming from.
I think to me, if they were going to do it, I would. I mean, honestly, I'd put Doom before Galactus. Galactus is such a.
I think the other reason why they might be doing it is because the last two movies have done that. The last two versions, rather.
No,
have set him up from the get.
They haven't.
I didn't say well. I just meant they did it like the first movie was Doom, and then the remake that God forbid was terrible. Like, it was just awful. They had Doom as the lead villain for that one as well. So I think they're just trying to set it apart, even though there's something to be said that this is essentially the second, Fox one over again, but not if they do it correctly. So I don't know. There's a lot of big stuff up in the air with this one. But
what's up?
So I was just saying, there's a lot of stuff up in the air with this one. There's hi Rebel. Rebel says hello.
Yeah, it's high stakes, high reward on this. And I hope I want to see it done right, man. Like, I love the series too much, and I love the characters too much to feel any sort of way other than that was fantastic. No pun intended. So,
so speaking of casting stuff, there's another one that's hitting the rumor mills now. Now, Josh will know this better than I will. Is it confirmed that he has signed on to a role with the MCU?
Yeah. It's been that he has signed on for a secret role, and unfortunately, as much as the internet wants it, and as much as I want it, a lot of people want him to be Doctor Doom. I think he'd be a fantastic Doctor Doom, and it'd be completely different from being the perfect Superboy. He's always playing the hero, and I think The Witcher really showed that he can play a menacing villain. And Doctor Doom, his whole thing is he was a very handsome guy, and then he got all messed up with his face, which is why he wears the mask.
Yeah.
He has the build, he has the acting chops, and I think he'd be a very intimidating Doctor Doom. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. It's probably going to be something like Captain Britain, which I think is a little too spot on the nose. Really think, but I'm really hoping that he is going to be Doom. But nonetheless, he is one of my favorite actors, and I fanboy over this man. I'm just happy to see that he's in the MCU, and I really think he deserves a high caliber role. And if he gets a high caliber role, that'll be a good FU to Warner Brothers and James Gunn and everything, because they completely screwed him when it comes to Superman.
Absolutely.
Everybody keeps like saying he can do like Hyperion or Captain Britain, but like I don't want him to do those typical like Marvel Superman characters. He's already done that. I want to see him do something different to go outside the box. And I think, and plus Doctor Doom, which Henry Cavill's a big name, but he's not a box office draw. We've already showed that with like his recent movies. Even though he's in the movies, the like Argyle, I heard it did awful. But like Doctor Doom is a role that can make him as big as Thanos or like Darth Vader, because Darth Vader is actually got his whole thing, like his whole image is he's based off Doctor Doom. I read that like when they were creating Darth Vader, that they were going based off Doctor Doom. So I think that is a role that can really take his career to the next level, and I think he deserves something like that. So if he really did sign on, I would hope it'd be for something like Doctor Doom.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Like, that's my, like, with a lot of other people, like the choice role I would pick for him is Doctor Doom. I think he would be fantastic. I really liked him as he played a villainous role in not the most recent Mission Impossible, but the one prior. I think it was Rogue Nation, I think is what it was called. But he was like FBI turned bad or something like that in the movie.
He's like a double agent.
He's like a double agent. He plays a heel character, and he was really freaking
the cool
good.
Thing that hit in the bathroom.
Yeah,
oh my god, the fist thing.
the pump, dude. I don't care that. I mean, you see that, you run the other fucking way. You know what I mean? Like, you see that move from that man, just run. But yeah, so since he did such a good job as that, I know he can play a good villain character. And kind of like what you said, the Captain Britain thing. It's like, do we really have to just like really play into who he is and where he comes from?
One thing, another two characters. I'm hoping for Doctor Doom, but if he does Captain Britain, fine. But I think he would also do. Hear me out. I might get hate for this. He
Cyclops?
would also do a great Wolverine. I think based on nature, and he could be a great Cyclops.
Yeah, I saw the Cyclops one, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one."
Yeah, I could definitely see Cyclops on that.
Yeah, I could see Cyclops. I don't know about Wolverine other than the fact that like his body matches Wolverine.
Well, it's more like it matches like Hugh Jackman. But yeah.
Quick question: when you say he got signed on for another role, does that exclude voice acting? Like, could he just be in What If?
It's a secret role.
Dude, if it was a voice acting thing, people would lose their shit.
I think Marvel's no. If they get Henry Cavill, it has to be and I don't think Henry Cavill's one of us. He's a big nerd. If he's gonna sign on and do the superhero thing again after he just got screwed by the whole Superman stuff, I don't think he's gonna take on just a voice acting. He's like, if I come back, it's gonna be for a substantial role. I don't think he's one of those actors that you just get for like a one-off.
That would get so much hate. The Marvel Studios has to be at least a little smarter than that, right? Like, this ain't Sony, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and then I'm interested to see, I know Argyle hasn't done well, but the movie he's doing, Andrew, where he's playing like another crazy villain.
He's not really playing a villain. It's more like an anti-hero.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ungentlemanly like war movie type of thing, but basically the real life Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah, that one's gonna be
fun.
See him do, because, and that's what it seems like he's wanting people to see is, hey, I can do more than just superhero shit. Like, I'm more than just Superman. So I'm glad he's getting some of these other roles in between, so that when he does come to do Marvel, and hopefully it is Doctor Doom, I think he would be a really good fit for that as well.
Is that the one you would pick out of what we mentioned, or just any Marvel character in general? Is that the one you'd go with?
I mean, from what we've talked about, especially with the ones you've talked about, like, I don't really know why we need a Captain Britain movie anyway, but
I don't think he'd have his own movie. I think he'd just be an additional character. But I feel like that could be a waste of him as an actor.
Yeah,
for sure. I feel multiversal, and he's Psylocke's brother, which Psylocke's part of the X-Men. So I mean, they can do something with it, but it wouldn't be anything significant. Like Doctor Doom,
not a substantial role.
Substantial, and I like the idea of him playing a villain for Marvel versus doing another hero role, and I think the dynamic, and he has the suave, he's got the James Bond style like air to him, even though, which is big because when he's a substantially large guy. I know people go back and forth with their weight and their body shape and everything like that, but since he's been doing these roles, he's stayed big. Like, everything he's been in, his body is at the same kind of large mass level. So seeing him be able to bring that air and the joie de vivre and the like, just that calm, cool, collected at the same time for his size, that whole like James Bond mystique is really neat and like unique for someone with his physical presence. So
like,
to see,
imagine like Henry Cavill and Pedro Pascal together fighting each other on screen, like that alone sells. Like that'd be cool.
Yeah, and I think they'll play well off each other too. So if he's, Fantastic Four 2 movie and everything like that, I think they will play really, really well off each other. And I just think that Henry Cavill brings that gravitas and can really play that character of Dr. Doom really well, with the whole like being obsessed with the image thing and being classically handsome, but he's not like a pretty boy, kind of like how Chris Evans was with Johnny. So,
Brandon, we've all kind of talked about this. Is there any roles that we've mentioned or otherwise that you would pick for this, god of a man, if you will?
Depends on how well he can don a bald cap.
Oh gosh.
Because well, you're talking about his stature and how bulky and how big he is.
Oh God, are you gonna say what I think you're saying?
I don't know. I was gonna say Silver Surfer.
Oh, thank God. Okay, I don't know. My head went to Juggernaut or something like that. Like
no. They've already cast that guy.
I don't know if I can see him as Silver Surfer. When I think of Silver Surfer, I think of like a lengthy kind of tone dude, not like a big jack dude.
Nah, I mean, he's kind of. I mean, Cavill could do it. I mean, Silver Surfer. I mean, what we've seen before in the movies and such, and even in the comics. Not in the comics. In the movies, the previous ones at least, he has been more of a slender guy. For God's sakes, they had Doug Jones as him.
Jones,
doesn't get much more slender than that dude. With regard to the comics, he's a little bit more bulkier. And I don't know. Something just happened. That was weird. But yeah, no, I could see him doing it. He's got the tone in his voice. If they choose to do voice acting over for him, or if he's just going to do it. If he's going to be the voice of Silver Surfer 2, I could see it. I could see it working.
I would think Keanu Reeves for the voice of Silver Surfer. I think Keanu Reeves has a nice voice for that.
That's the thing with comparing this, because it's all going to be speculative, because there's only been one voice actor for him, not counting the 90s cartoon, but that's just Lawrence Fishburne. So get your head out of the Matrix, bro. No, I don't know.
Never.
I mean, yeah, for real. But I don't know. I think I with other characters he could do, I'm not opposed to seeing him as Captain Britain. But just like you guys, I think that would be a cop out for him. And if they're going to introduce him as anything, I don't know. He could be a good Doom, but I don't know. I kind of have my own pick for that, and I could see it working. But
who's your pick for Doom?
Who's that?
Adam Driver, dude. Like I could see him.
I've heard that one before, actually.
Yeah.
I thought I was kind of original with that one.
That's the same thing as like with Henry Cavill. I think that's too close to like Kylo Ren. He's already done that.
Nah,
that is a little bit of the problem. Yeah,
I agree with you on that point. At the same time, Driver, if you have you seen him in anything else that wasn't Star Wars, where he was just
absolutely
pissed off?
Yeah,
like he's terrifying, bro. Like he is just menacing, and I don't think he was as menacing in Star Wars as he could have been. But like. He's kind of cut short on that because of the.
He did a good job with Black Klansman. He did a really good job with that.
Yes. Holy shit, dude! Like he is, and the one with Scarlett Johansson, the
Marriage Story.
Marriage Story. Yeah, dude. Like
I haven't watched it, but I've seen a bunch of clips about.
Oh my god! Yeah, just those clips alone, man. It's like he is vicious. He can be vicious. So
yeah,
given the right headspace the man could be in for that role, and the freedom for Marvel to just be like, do it, dude. Like,
well, and he was one of the people that was rumored for Reed Richards, actually. like for a
Really?
while.
Huh.
Yeah, for a little while.
He said he didn't.
I'm glad they didn't. I'd
resonate
take
with the
Pedro.
script.
I'll
Do
take
what?
Pedro
He
over.
turned it down because he didn't resonate with the script.
Good.
Fair enough. If it
Good.
doesn't hit you right, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Like
Yeah.
because it was like at that point it was like him and they were talking about Margot Robbie for Invisible Woman and stuff like that at that particular time. And it's just like I think they did a good job. Like you get one big star and then some talent to follow suit. I was gonna say earlier you didn't know who the blonde girl was. She's been in Hobbs and Shaw. She was also in the last 2 Mission Impossible movies. She showed up, and that's what I've seen her in. But and I'm sure she's done other stuff. She's had like second, third tier roles in the. Well, I mean, to be fair, Hobbs and Shaw, she's like third on the cast call, basically. Like it's
I mean,
Hobbs,
but the
Shaw,
story
and then her.
is about her though. So
yeah, I forgot about that one. That one was probably the
lead.
most prominent lead role that I've seen her in. Is that one in particular? But she was still technically like third on the call list. But anyway, we've talked a lot about Marvel. We're running a little long today, but I did want to give a chance. There's some crazy trailers are coming out today. Specifically, they dropped a trailer for Borderlands. For those not familiar, this is based off the video game, which, I mean, most people in the sphere probably know of that. But now none of us have seen this, but Brandon has, and he's a huge Borderlands fan, so I wanted to give him a chance to give his opinion on this, talk about his thoughts on the trailer and just the movie in general so far.
So just preference, you said none of you guys have seen the trailer, right?
I've seen the trailer. I haven't played the game.
Okay. You did not play the game, you said?
No.
Okay. All right. So nobody here has played the games. But I will say that the games are very special to me personally. I've gone through all of them. I mean, and the side ones and just everything that they've done. I've been there. Like I will pay $60 to play those games on launch because to me they're that good. And I've always loved the lore of Borderlands. I love the story. I have followed it since its very first release in 2008, I think it was. So here we are, like 15 years later, and they're doing a movie off of it. And I am kind of hopeful, believe it or not, like looking at the world from what I can see, it looks like Pandora. It also looks like they're going to explore other worlds as well. That's my hope, at least, because that is Borderlands. You don't just stick on Pandora. You start on Pandora, you go to another world, like, except for the first game. But they need to do it right, and they need to do it just like, maybe not just like, but in the same headspace as what Five Nights at Freddy's was to that fan base. Do it for the fans of the game, because if you don't, you're going to get a lot of pissed off people. They're already kind of starting to piss off the fans with the casting. I think that they can come around that though, because we saw it with Super Mario. And people had opinions about that movie, and they were like, this is going to be fucking dog shit because of Jack Black doing this and this, and and getting these huge stars and Chris Pratt as Mario. Nobody thought it was going to do well. And then we see the trailer and it's like, okay, that doesn't look too bad. It kind of looks, I don't know how I feel about his voice. It should be more Italian, blah, 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 blah. And then the movie comes out and everyone freaking loves it. I'm really, really hoping and pushing for this to be exactly that. I have my doubts, but, we've seen it work before. I am a little bit tired of seeing, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and these huge Hollywood stars taking the roles I don't want to word it like that, but rehashing them, so to speak, in the same type of roles. When I look at Roland as a character, I don't see Kevin Hart in any way, shape, or form. When I look at what's his name? It's blanking on me now, but when he's not in it. Fingers crossed he isn't in it, but we haven't seen him in it. But yeah, Claptrap. If we're looking at Claptrap, it does. I have a problem with Jack Black as Claptrap. I'm just gonna say it like that. He doesn't, to me, sound like he doesn't sound like him at all, and it seems like that they're really trying to modulate his voice to kind of make it close, but it's not doing it for me so far. Visually, everything looks fantastic other than that, though. I will say Jamie Lee Curtis as Tannis wasn't my first choice, but seeing her in the costume and everything, and knowing how Tannis is, very kind of like a stuck-up scientist, more or less, for you guys who don't know what Tannis is. She is a very high-strung scientist that is all about research, and the creepiest little things make her like flourish and laugh and stuff like that. It's really a very unique role.
Okay, I follow Jamie on socials, and I think I've seen her teasing stuff about it recently.
Okay.
So I didn't know
That's funny.
what the character was from, but everyone that I guess knows what the character is and everything from what she was like teasing was eating it up on her socials. So
I could see her as as boisterous as she is too, bringing a really good job to that character. And she looks the part too. I get again.
Yeah,
I
that's
can't
what
remember.
they were saying is like she's like a dead ringer in her outfit for
really,
and like people.
really well
I
done.
remember seeing stuff like a year ago of people shipping her as that character.
Oh, for real?
On her,
I didn't know that this was
on
that
her
far
socials, and I didn't know what the hell it was though.
Well, because they did it. They did
That's
release
crazy.
a like teaser image when they were in deep production of this movie, where you couldn't see what they looked like. It was literally just them announcing the cast, and it was all them with like a backlit, and they were just blacked out. You couldn't see them. It was just like a backlit photo to announce the cast and to announce that things were moving forward or whatever with the movie, or maybe it was that they were done filming. I can't remember. And so ever since then, like I guess things have been ramping up to this point where we're finally getting the trailer and stuff like that.
One other thing too that is kind of a big thing that people are really upset might be the right word. To me, it strikes me the wrong way. I'm hoping if there's more trailers to be released for this thing, which I'm sure there are, that it answers these questions. Okay, first off would be the whole point of the whole cast of Borderlands is not there. There are some serious main characters that are not present in this trailer. To put it in perspective, at the very first game, you had Mordecai, Brick, Lilith, and Roland. Those were the four characters, the four main characters. In this trailer, what we're seeing is Lilith and Roland. And the other two characters, Tiny Tina and Brick. Tiny Tina was in the second game. Brick was a DLC character that you got from DLC. And that's the third game kind of expanded a little bit more on their backstories and kind of brought them more into the fold to where you see a little bit more about who this character is, who that character is, and what makes them tick, whatever the case. But we don't see two very, very big parts of Borderlands, which is, Mordecai is a huge part of Borderlands. And I don't know what they're doing there, but I hope it's just a fact of let's save something for another trailer later on down the road. And they are in the game or in the movie. Because if they leave them out, that is going to really not do well by fans. And I hope it's not, I equally so hope it's not a case where at the very end of the movie, you see like a teaser of those two characters side by side and it's saved for another movie. That would not go over very well. They need to do it right. They need to have them all in here and go balls to the wall. And we're not seeing anything about Handsome Jack. He's the big baddie of the second game and kind of in the third game, but he's a huge part of Borderlands 2. I would even be okay with them doing that on another day, like another movie down the road, saving something for later. But plot-wise, I don't know how I feel about this. For the fans, if they're doing it for the fans of the game, it looks like they're going the same exact direction as the first game, which is there's a hidden vault on Pandora. We have to go see what this is about and find this treasure and blah, blah, blah. And right now, as a fan, I'm looking at it, been like, we've been there, done that. Let's do something different. So overall, I've seen the trailer like 3 or 4 times today, just kind of over analyzing everything. I am very hyped about it. I am also very, very skeptical because I feel like what I'm seeing might be too good to be true. So,
Josh, since I know you haven't played the game, but you watched the trailer. As an outside perspective, what are your thoughts on just the trailer itself?
I mean, it looked like a fun movie to kind of turn your brain off to. I made a status asking, like saying I didn't play the games, but asking people's opinion who are fans of the game. Brandon commented as well. Nobody seems to be pretty hyped about it for the most part. I got trolled for not playing the game, but I mean, it looks like I agree with Brandon. I think it's a very rare or random role for somebody like Kevin Hart and Jack Black to do. There's Hollywood seems to be recycling the same actors for everything lately. I've noticed, and I feel like this would have been a good film to bring a little more lesser known actors to the fold to give them a chance, and this would have been perfect for that. And I think they have a lot to live up to as far as because I think the only good video game adaptation that is done well is The Last of Us. And I think now people are going to be respecting that kind of quality when it comes to video game movies. Well, Mario was good too. That was a good example.
Yeah.
It's a different medium though, to be fair.
But like
very different.
Well, when it comes to a series, I guess it's because I'm assuming Borderlands, it looks goofy, it has like a Guardians of the Galaxy type feel to it, but like I'm assuming it does have some serious tones to it. Maybe not as serious as The Last of Us, but
there's some serious undertones, but overall the game is extremely comical. I mean,
okay, well then that's a little different, and then I can see why they got the comedy actors to do it. But like again, there's still other like lesser known comedy actors they could have got. You don't need to put Kevin Hart in everything. You don't need to put Jack Black.
They're burning everybody out with Kevin Hart.
I've
been burned out from Kevin Hart like 6 months to a year ago, easily. I had this conversation with Andrew, and I'm just like, when he came out, he was really funny. He was different. And now it's just him screaming in every movie and his high-pitched girl scream all the time.
Which,
like,
if they do that,
happening.
If they do that with Roland, it will not go over well because Roland is a very he's a very big burly dude and he has a very low voice and he is a leader. You know, he's not the comic relief. You know, he's the one that ties the team together, him and Lilith, as the serious ones for the most part. Brick is a freaking, he's he loves to smash shit. He's like the Hulk. And he's more of the comic relief than anything. But I mean, no, Claptrap's a comic relief. Let me be real about that. But yeah, I just I don't know about him as Roland, man. I don't see him any way, shape, or form as him. I think The Rock would have been a better Roland, but I hope he doesn't.
The Rock too, so I'm glad they didn't go that route.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, since we're reaching the, I do apologize, David. I didn't mean to cut you off. But since we're reaching sort of the end here, we can go on a little bit. I just wanted to mention again, a lot of Marvel news stuff, a lot of movies coming out. Real quick before we wrap up, was there anything that anybody else wanted to touch on, whether it be new trailers that maybe dropped during the Super Bowl or anything like the real fast that we can kind of speed round this before we wrap things up?
Are video games off the table here?
If you want to talk about video game, go for it.
Something it's kind of really blown up today. On top of the Borderlands trailer, we got a DLC trailer for Elden Ring, which is, if you guys have never played it, that is by far one of the best games that's ever been made, hands down. And people have waited 2 years to hear and see anything about a DLC, and the company that made it, From Software, or FromSoft, whatever. Yeah, they have been working very hard under wraps to make a stellar DLC that is essentially a whole other part of Elden Ring, which is absolutely blowing up the gaming community right now. So it looks absolutely fucking insane. Everything I'm replaying Elden Ring right now for the 4th time. So that ought to tell you how hyped I am about it. And I was not expecting to be playing through the game 2 years later and now see a DLC that has gotten me just as hyped as when I saw the first trailer for this game. So I'm stoked about that.
So
awesome.
is it Elden with a D? Elden Ring?
ELDEN ring.
And what's that like brief summary? What is it about? Like,
have you ever heard of Dark Souls and how difficult those games are? Or
She's not a video
Bloodborne?
game person.
Okay.
I've heard
It is a
name,
very
though.
it is a
Like,
very the From Software games are notoriously known as being some of the hardest. You can't just run in there with a sword and just whack shit and hope that you're good. It's not a hack and slash. You really gotta take your time with it, plan out your
like
character
versus
build.
like Final Fantasy, which is like the only damn online role play game I know. Like,
well, this is a single player.
Different. So it's single player versus like parties. That is what Final Fantasy
there's
does.
multiplayer aspects, but it's very single player driven.
Okay.
What Elden Ring did differently than other FromSoft games was they made it very much open world free roam, but still just as difficult and big humongous boss fights that are amazing, and the world is gorgeous.
So it's like very fantasy based, I'm guessing.
It is. It's very dark fantasy. Not as dark as Bloodborne, what they did with that one, but it does have its dark elements for sure.
Gotcha.
But fantastic game.
As far as video games go, it's not new. I've been replaying a classic.
Oh Lord.
On Crystal. That's a
Crystal. Nice.
But I've been replaying the older Pokemon games, and it's been a blast.
Hell yeah.
That's like last night. I just found out that they have I have the newer Xbox. They have Xbox Game Pass. They added TMNT Shredder's Revenge, which is a new side scroller, like in the style of the old arcade games. They made a new one like a year or so ago that they released, and they dropped it on that. And I was playing through a couple of levels of that. Dude, I was like reliving my freaking childhood, man. That game is fun. Like, I highly recommend. And they, luckily, as opposed to the old school arcade game, they actually give you the option of what difficulty you want to play on.
Wow.
Because those old arcade games are no joke, man. Those things are like you have no leeway on nothing. You will get messed the hell up. So I was playing on like easy mode, and I'm like, yes, this I can do.
You guys play these? Silver, gold, crystal? I got silver too.
I don't remember if I did, to be honest with you. I did play the first couple of them. Like, I had yellow and blue and red and that sort of thing, like the early ones. But I can't remember the last one that I played, but it was, by the time we got to Game Boy Advance, I might have played one of those, and that was the last iteration I played. But it was pretty much like Game Boy Color was probably in the height of my Pokemon gaming, if you will.
Hey, man, you're missing out on some classics. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah.
Andrew will give me crap for this, but I grew up poor, so I didn't have handheld games. So sorry. I never had a Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, a DS, none of that shit.
We can fix that real quick. Okay, you can download these games and play them for free.
I actually have. The funny thing is, I actually have my Game Boy Color, and
Andrew still does. Yep.
And my sister's old DS that I have right now.
For Christmas, my fiance got me a custom made.
Oh, the custom one, yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
So it's really cool.
That is
Ashlyn,
really
was there anything that you wanted to touch on before we wrap things up? Any
I was
movies?
trying to
Anything
think
else?
of like any trailers we saw, because last
Twisters,
week,
maybe, or
Twisters. Yeah, I think that's the one. I mean, we're definitely excited for Afterlife coming out, but Twisters, didn't even know that movie was coming out. Had no idea. Was totally thrown. Twister was one of my all-time favorite comfort movies as a kid. Don't ask me why a movie about tornadoes is a comfort movie, but it was.
Because you didn't live where you had to worry about it.
I guess so. It always was just always on, and always watched it, loved all the main characters in it. So I'm fingers crossed that maybe we'll get to see a cameo, at least from, is it Helen Hunt or is it Lauren Dern?
I think it's Helen Hunt, but
I think it's Helen Hunt. It's one of the two. I don't know. I'm having a brain moment right now, but it's one of those two actresses. I think it's Helen though. So maybe she'll pop up in it. That would be really cool. If not, it's okay. But seeing Dorothy again and everything like that. So them doing it for modern day is really neat. So
there's so many movies coming out in the next month. It's not even funny. Like you've got, I think Ghostbusters Afterlife is March.
Because I think it's right around your birthday. So I'm super excited about that.
This is can't see when it just says 2024, but I'm pretty sure Godzilla vs. Kong is that time too, if not shortly after. Like, have a couple of these pulled up just in case. But I'm excited for Godzilla and Kong. I don't really know what the hell's going on with that movie, just based off the trailers. There's a lot of chaos, but it's gonna be a fun, dumb time at the movies with giant monsters destroying crap and fighting each other, and that's all that really matters. So Josh, anything you want to touch on?
I heard a giant crash in my kitchen.
So. Oh no!
Everything okay?
Yeah, no, my kid bumped into something and broke some glass, but everything's good.
Ooh.
Well, on that note, let's wrap things up so he can go sweep it up. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Thanks for joining all of us doing all this Marvel stuff. Real quick before we wrap up, though, make sure everybody gets their plugs in. Josh, where can the people find you?
You can find me over at McCoy Culture on YouTube and over here on Retroactive Pod with Andrew. And you can catch me and Andrew both on Toy Quest 101 every Friday night with our buddy Miguel.
That's right. Brandon, and you?
So all social medias as Venture Authentics, and selling autographs.
That's right. Ashlyn, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok at BookBrat90. Going to be sharing some new stuff with the home renovations. Did some fun stuff with Disney that you guys saw last week. We did a cute little Valentine's Day outing at Disney. So just some more fun stuff like that coming. So.
And of course, you can find me in my home, but please don't come here.
I'll be there.
Yeah. Josh, Brandon, y'all are invited. That's about it. You can find me at Andrew. Wait, does that say Andrew R Music?
It does. What did you do?
Wow, that must have auto-populated. That is not my.
Andrew hasn't watched Lord of the Rings.
Andrew is losing. I didn't realize this whole time that was on here. That's one of my old ones that must have just auto-populated. But Andrew is losing on pretty much all social media and Retroactive POD on TikTok, Instagram, of course here YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Comment below on the topics that we talked today. Let us know your thoughts on everything, and like we said, how much you think. How many awards do you think Madam Web is going to win this award season?
Y'all are such asses.
All of them.
Mm-hmm.
All the Razzies, but yes.
Oh my God!
All right.
Stop.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much again, and then that is a great way to end it right there. End it on Rogue's Butt. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye.